Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een amma ba'du. We're going to be reading and doing a commentary on the book by Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali, Al-Radd Ala man Ittaba Ghayr al-Madhahib al-Arba, refutation of those who do not follow the four schools. It's really, it's like a pamphlet. It's a really short book. And we're going to focus for our purposes just on the English, so we have to translate and waste time doing that. We'll go ahead and just read from the English and we'll give commentary on it, inshallah. And this is really important, especially today, in understanding, what to follow and how to follow it. Obviously today, we have many that feel like they have the ability, they have passed that threshold, and they are able to, even give rulings and tell people, how to do things, and really going against over 1,000 years of scholarship. So, really, what's going to come down to before we start, there were many schools of fiqh, right? This is no secret. If you study, kind of the history of the Muslims and different things, you find that there was other scholars, not just Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, Imam Shafi'i, Imam Ahmad. There was Layth ibn Sa'ad and Sufyan al-Thawri, Sufyan ibn Uyayna. You can go on and on and on. Al-Tabari. So many people had their own school. The reality is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed that we wouldn't have, their schools, I guess, wouldn't live on. Right? Yeah, we still have some opinions here and there, and we can reference, but it's, they're, for whatever reason, their schools died out, and these four schools lived on, and today, up until today anyway, over 1,000 years, the Ummah has accepted these four schools. Right? So that's just the way it is. Even the Zahiri school, for example, that school is from Ahl Sunnah, but it's many of the scholars said that their opinions aren't even taken. Right? Obviously, some said they do, and some said they'll take it with conditions and so on. But the rule of thumb is that these are the four schools that we follow, and it's really important just to start with one school. That's what all the great scholars of Islam, they did. Imam al-Nawawi, he was Shafi'i. Imam ibn Taymiyyah was Hanbali. Imam ibn Abdul Barr was Maliki, and so on and so forth, right? So every great scholar of Islam had a madhab, right? And the reality is, throughout history, the rule of thumb is that one masters one school of fiqh, right? Even though we've had just a couple that had two, but the rule of thumb is mastering one school of fiqh. And many of us are going to live and die, and we're not even going to master one school, right? But today, we want to know all four schools, and thinking that because you know opinions in all four schools, that means you know all four schools, right? This is not the case. You have to study, you have to live with these schools, live with their books. With this small book, go into a bigger book, studying the usul, understanding different things and terminologies. But, because today we have the information is accessible to us really easily on Google and, on these libraries and YouTube, there's so much information that we feel, well, I have the Hanbali opinion, I have the Shafi'i opinion, I have the Maliki opinion, I have the Hanafi opinion, so I have all four schools. Right, and then after that, they'll probably still go against all four schools, right? So, Yeah, obviously it's a long thing. We'll probably just, start the book, and then from there we can kind of just give commentary on different things. Ibn Rajab, of course, is one of the greatest Hanbali scholars. Um, he was he was the student of Ibn al-Qayyim, which is the student of Ibn Taymiyyah. May Allah have mercy on all of them. Ibn Rajab starts. Again, this is a refutation. It's a refutation of those who do not follow the four schools. He starts in the name of Allah, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, or the most merciful, the most compassionate. Through him we seek aid. Praise be to Allah, alhamdulillah. Lord of the worlds, a frequent, wholesome praise, blessing him as our Lord loves and is pleased by. May Allah bless Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his slave and messenger, the unlettered prophet, the seal of the prophets, and imam of the God-fearing, and the one delegated with the upright religion, and the lasting assisted protected legislation. A protected legislation which a group of his community will never cease triumphantly following the truth, unharmed by those who desert them until the final hour comes. To commence, he quoted a hadith there, of course. This is just the intro. We haven't got to the actual part yet. To commence, someone's rebuke has reached me, right? So this refutation reached Ibn Rajab. A rebuke for my censoring people today who affiliate with the school of Imam Ahmad, right? And he's going to concern himself with kind of the school of Imam Ahmad, but the rule goes for all four schools. Obviously, he's Hanbali, right? Or another famous imam. See, he gives reference to the other imams. Yet depart from their school and issues. He claimed that someone who does this is not to be reprimanded, since he might be a mujtahid following what appeared to him to be the truth, or emulating another mujtahid, and that is therefore is not held against him. So I say, and success is only with Allah. He is the one sought for help, reliance upon him, and there is no strength nor power except through Allah. There is no doubt that Allah Most High is protected for his community, its religion of protection. He has given none other. There is no prophet after this community to renew what has vanished from its religion, as it was from the religions of the prophets before us. Whenever one vanished, another prophet would come after him to renew it. I'm going to just finish this paragraph and I'll give some commentary. Allah Majestic guaranteed protection for his religion and affirmed that every age of being offensive, to expel from it the corruption of the extremists, tricks of the nullifiers, and interpretation of the ignorant. Allah Most High said, indeed we sent down the remembrance, and indeed we are protective of it. Of course, this is Surah Al-Hijr, verse number 9. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised, right, that he would, he said that he sent down the remembrance, the dhikr, meaning the Quran, but many have said it's a Sunnah as well, and we indeed are going to protect it. So this is a guaranteed protection that he will have, at least for the Quran, and then some say this is Sunnah as well. Thus no one has been able to add to or remove from it a single phrase. Okay, so here Ibn Rajab is talking about the preservation of the religion. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised to preserve this religion, right? And obviously starting with the Quran, with its 10 reciters and 2 students per, it's been preserved from the time of the Prophet ﷺ until our time. And the religion as well, with regards to hadith and books and so on and so forth, we have it until today, right? And of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised this, so we know it's going to be true. So in that, it's important, to know that we shouldn't feel or give into pressure to change what has always been. Yeah, I mean, Islam is not as strong, if you will, today, even though we have more numbers than we've ever had, about 2 billion Muslims today out of the 7.8 billion people alive today. Um, uh, but obviously, I mean, you see our lands, the different countries have been taken over. I mean, you can just name on and on Syria or Syria, Palestine, and Yemen, and I mean, you see Kashmir and China, and I mean, go on and on and on. We've been humiliated left and right, but may Allah grant us victory. In that, we have, so here Ibn Rajab is highlighting how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, promised to preserve the religion, and no doubt we are 1441, 1441 years after the hijrah of the Prophet ﷺ from Mecca to Medina, and the religion is still preserved, right? So Ibn Rajab, he starts off by saying that someone brought this type of refutation to him, saying, right, and this person happens to be Hanbali, so they follow this school, the Hanbali school, for example, but yet they depart from this school in issues, right? So he goes on to say he claimed that someone who does this is not to be reprimanded, since he might be a mujtahid, following what appeared to him to be the truth or emulating another mujtahid, and that is, therefore, is not held against him. So we need to understand something. We mentioned the rule of thumb is, studying and mastering one school, and many are not going to master one school, right? So you're going to be, and many people, barely get through purification and prayer of just one school. But during this time where they haven't really, studied usul al-fiqh, for example, obviously Arabic language, tafsir, so many different things, they already feel like, they have the ability to say what is correct and what is not correct. They say, well, okay, Imam Malik was, not correct in this matter, and the opinion of Imam Shafi'i was stronger. The question has to be asked, who told you, and how do you know what's correct and what's not correct? Right? I mean, are you a mujtahid? Right? They're probably definitely going to say no. Really, I mean, you find, today, and Allah knows best, there's no mujtahid mutlaq alive. There's different levels of ijtihad, like mujtahid madhab, mujtahid fatwa, mujtahid tarjih, and so on and so forth. But even the lowest form of ijtihad, the few will ever reach that. Even they say, subhanAllah, something kind of amazing. The great Imam al-Nawawi, right? Everybody knows Imam al-Nawawi, right? Many have said that he was not mujtahid mutlaq, and he had the tools like from everywhere, right? Arabic, fiqh, usul, tafsir, hadith. They say he was mujtahid madhab, right? In the Shafi'i school in particular, even though he knew other opinions and so on. So, again, you're going to go about this one school, and many people today, sadly, are going to study it through what they call the rajih. So they open up any school, in the Maliki school, for example, al-Akhdari, or al-Ashmawi, that people might start with, or Ibn Ashir, depending where you're from and what you want to start with, or your teacher gives you. So you're going to say, okay, this, and that, okay, dalk is weak, and the rajih is that dalk is not wajib. The scrubbing or rubbing with water in wudu and ghusl, right? So the question is, how do you know? There's no proof for this, and that, and it's people kind of run their mouths at times, and it's sad to see. And the people that really speak the most are the ones with the least knowledge, right? So you're gonna say, okay, well, I think Imam Abu Hanifa's opinion is the strongest here, right? Again, it's really, subhanAllah, it's just a problem that's been plaguing us, I think, for decades. And in that, you have these great imams. Again, we talked about the four imams for our purposes. They each had different usul, right? So Imam Malik rather, he took the amal of Ahl al-Madina. He took the way or custom of the people of Medina, right? So he used that as proof. The other scholars don't really, acknowledge it, right? That's fine. But so he said that's his proof, and the amal Ahl Medina is in the level of mutawatir, right? It's in the level of mutawatir. So that means it's like a hadith in the level of mutawatir. So it's really strong, and the Malikis will take that as a proof, right? So a Shafi'i or Hanbali or even someone that doesn't even ascribe themselves to a madhab, they'll come and they will criticize and say, oh well, Imam Malik, he obviously didn't know, or maybe he didn't reach the hadith, or the hadith didn't reach him, or people make mistakes, and he's a human being, and I mean, come on, firstly, I mean, Imam Malik, he again, I just focus in particular, it's just an example, but Imam Malik was Amir al-Mu'mineen in hadith. He knew hundreds of thousands of narrations, where they say that if he narrates from somebody, that means he's automatically like upright and someone to be taken from. So again, so a Shafi'i or Hanbali can't come and say, well, okay, this is weak or whatever, and this and that. I mean, they might pick a opinion they think is stronger, but if they have different usul, you really can't judge one compared to the other. Right? So what's known is about Imam al-Shafi'i, generally speaking, he doesn't take the mursal hadith. Right? What's known about the other three imams, Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, Imam Ahmad, they take the mursal hadith. Right? And the same thing with the qawl al-sahabi, the saying or action of the companion, what's more popular of Imam al-Shafi'i, that he doesn't take it. And the other three imams, Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, and Imam Ahmad, they take it. So it's different usul to begin with. So how are you going to say, well, okay, so whatever way the one imam thinks of getting the legal rulings is different than the other imam. Of course, they're probably going to have different opinions at times, right? So when you come like 1400 years later, and with the limited knowledge we have today and the limited taqwa, may Allah guide us, and we want to say, well, the rajih of this mas'ala is this and that. And the scholars of Islam have differed for over 1,000 years, right? You're not going to solve this today, I promise. You are not going to stop the khilaf and the difference of opinion. Difference of opinion will always be there, and that's fine. And the rule of thumb is there's no criticism in an accepted khilaf, right? There's no criticism in that, right? So, it's not for us to force one madhab down the other one's throat. So if one person is Hanafi, you can say, no, brother, I think the Hanbali school is strong, you need to be Hanbali, right? I mean, let him follow a school. As long as he or she is following a school, inshallah, they're doing right, right? I mean, really, you want something that you're going to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with that is acceptable by the ummah. And the ummah, again, has accepted these four schools, right? Again, we can't follow the school of Sufyan al-Thawri, Layth ibn Sa'id, Tabari, Sufyan ibn Uyayna, and so on and so forth, right? Because there are schools that didn't last. Imam al-Awza'i, for example. In the Zahiri school, again, seems to be a fad, and the Zahiris, and they encourage ijtihad and whatever. Look, if you are going to be Zahiri, right, for the sake of argument, right, get your Arabic up, right? The people that talk about they want to be Zahiri, I mean, they have no Arabic, or they haven't studied usul, they haven't studied fiqh really, or tafsir. I mean, they can barely recite Quran, and then they want to come and say, I want to be Zahiri, right? And they only focus on the things, that are at least even reasonable in the Zahiri school. They don't speak about what, if they said out loud, it sounds really kind of strange, that the Ummah actually rejected, and they went against Ijma', for example. So again, I mean, brothers and sisters, really, I mean, the religion is complete, right? I mean, you can't really come today in 2019, close to 2020 now, 1441, Rabi' al-Akhir, Rabi' al-Thani, and you want to change or add, right? I mean, you really, what are you going to come today and say, oh, well, wudu is done, prayer. I mean, yeah, there's new matters that the scholars would need to kind of judge, but overall, though, the schools, alhamdulillah, we have the small books now, right? Going into the intermediate books, to the large books, then there's explanation of an explanation of these books. I mean, it's just all been laid out, so it's just for us to follow. And we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that. Until next time, inshallah. Wallahu a'lam wa sallallahu ala nabiyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.